What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to episode 9 of Betting the House. As always, we are live on the Alithio Network. Don't forget to check out the network's other shows like Chicago Hockey Radio, Forum Blues, Good Morning Hockey, Let's Cool One.
Forum Blues does not exist anymore, brother.
That's right.
That is a great, habit piece of, doing that. But hey, we all make mistakes.
Woof. My bad.
That's okay.
And finally, not from Chicago, but close enough. Like all Tuesdays, I guess it's a little different now with MLB going into the World Series, but I'll talk about that. We're going to be looking at some NHL games, some college football, as well as NBA's regular season opening night games and the rest of the games tomorrow. Before that, though, and before the recap, let's get into our gambling warning. The following content may discuss topics related to gambling. Gambling can be addictive and is not suitable for all individuals. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, help is available. In the U.S., contact the National Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org for resources and support. Illinois residents can also contact 1-800-426-2537 for local assistance. Please gamble responsibly and be aware of the risks involved. Must be 21 years or older if gambling in Illinois. All right, without further ado, let's recap the bets we talked about last Thursday. Starting in the NFL, Thursday Night Football, I took New Orleans at plus 2.5 at minus 105 odds. Did not work out that way. Denver ended up winning 33-10. Saints, 2 fumbles, one of them in the second half, 52-yard fumble recovery for a Denver touchdown. And it's never really a good sign when you get your first touchdown with a minute and a half remaining in the fourth quarter. So that one didn't look good. 0-1 right there. First 2 Sunday games I had, Patriots plus 5.5. Didn't hit. Jags win 32-16 with a punt return touchdown. The Patriots just couldn't convert, get anything done. Jags win 2-5, I believe now. Second, Atlanta minus 3. Again, didn't hit. Seahawks win 34-14 with Atlanta missing a field goal in the first half. And the second half didn't go any better. In fact, it was worse. Fumble recovery, touchdown by Seattle, and 2 interceptions all in the second half, so that one didn't hit. But don't worry, we've got plenty of hit ones coming up right now. In fact, starting with the Lions money line. I don't know if you watched that, Raven, but it was a back and forth game all night. Game. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, Lions game-winning 44-yard field goal with 15 seconds left on the clock. It was amazing to see. Plus, it was against Minnesota too, even better. Giving him that first L in that L column. Second hit parlay or leg, I guess. Cincinnati minus 6.5 at minus 105 odds. Bengals actually won by 7 with the final score being 21-14. So that hit just barely and pretty nicely. Chiefs money line, even odds at plus 100. They win by 10, 28-10. And final game of Sunday I bet on, Jets Steelers over 38 at minus 110. The Steelers scored 37 by themselves. Final score 37-15. It hits. Hell yeah. Moving over to Monday, one of the Monday night games, I had Arizona at plus 2.5 at minus 114 odds against the Chargers. They actually won again on a 32-yard field goal at the end of the game to get the win as the clock ran out. So that's 2 I bet on that won by field goals, as well as, I don't know if anyone caught the Packers game, but that won on a field goal too, which was awesome to see. That's all I've got for NFL, but if we want to move over into college games, Thursday I had I bet on both games. Georgia State taking on Marshall with the over being 51.5 at minus 110 odds. Marshall gets the win 35-20 against Georgia State, so that hits by 3 points, the over. Hell yeah. Virginia Tech was my second bet of that day, -7.5 spread at -105 odds. They actually won by 21 against Boston College. Final score 42-21. Heck yeah, we're looking good rolling into Friday. Purdue, Oregon. I had Purdue at +27.5. Oregon unfortunately won 35-0, but Purdue missed a 36-yard field goal. They had a fumble, an interception, and 3 turnovers on downs. So they just didn't look good, realistically. Second game I bet on Friday, Oklahoma State at +9.5 at -115 odds. It hit, even though BYU won. They only won by 3 points. Final score 38-35. So the +9.5 spread hits, which is great to see. Saturday's game, Nebraska at +6.5 spread, didn't hit. They got bent over a desk, if I'm being polite about it. Final score 56-7. Moving over into women's basketball in the WNBA. Game 4, I believe, was on Friday. I took New York -3 spread. The Lynx actually win by 2 to force the final game of the series, which we'll talk about a little bit in just a sec. And then over in baseball, I'm 2 for 2 on Thursday bets with the Yankees Guardians, no first run innings at -136 odds. And then Dodgers Mets, Hernandez hit at -130. Overall, 10 wins, 6 losses. Let's go. We were just above 50% last time. Now we're 3, 4. Let's go. Trending up. That's what we like to see. Before I get into tonight's bets, I want to explain why I'm not betting on MLB and WNBA tonight. So Yankees and Dodgers both advanced since Thursday to face each other in the World Series, starting this Friday, which means I'll be talking more about it on Thursday in a couple days. So tune in for that if you want some easily cashable MLB picks. And then WNBA, the finals are done. The New York Liberty finally raised that WNBA championship trophy for the first time in the franchise's history. They're actually the last original they're the last of the original members of the WNBA to have not won the championship. So that's always good to see. I'm excited for what that celebration in New York is going to look like. I think it'll be a great time. Raven, if you want to speak to anything about MLB or WNBA before I move on to NHL and what we want to talk about tonight.
The MLB needs a salary floor.
Yeah.
You have the most 2 expensive franchises facing off and the most faced off.
Fair. Wouldn't that be a cap then, not a floor?
The cap.
Or are you trying to?
You're trying to minimize, have a minimum that teams are allowed to spend.
A minimum, okay.
Yes, not a maximum, because you can pay 1 or 2 guys, maybe on a small market team, those big contracts, but then everyone else on your team is going to be making absolutely nothing.
Yeah, and I guess we tend to look at it
plus
as the richest teams need less money.
Yes,
as opposed to the underfunded teams need more.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
I think having a salary floor would allow a lot just more equal contracts along the board. And I don't know. I mean, there's been talks of giving 1 or 2, maybe 3 players the ability to have these super large contracts, but then everyone else on your team is supposed to be having a different
I get what you're saying. So it's like you get 3 kind of, or whatever, however
3
many
superstars,
kind of how they do with the trade clauses and stuff.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. No, I definitely agree. I think that makes a lot of sense. Especially with Yankees and Dodgers being, I totally agree that at least something needs to be done. Yeah. Well, I guess let's move over into tonight's games and what I've got for you. Let's start off with some NHL and hockey. Games tonight start at 5 p.m. Capitals Flyers go first. I'm looking to take the over, which is set at 5.5 at minus 120 odds. The Capitals head to Philly with a 3-game win streak, including a 6-5 OT win over the Devils. They've scored 3 or more games in all 3 or more goals in all 4 games, with the over hitting in 3 of them. The Flyers, on the other hand, are 0-3-1 in their last 4 games, giving up 19 goals, which is 4.8 goals per game, and struggling on the defensive side. I think tonight's game is going to see a lot of goals, especially with both goalies averaging around 3 goals.
Goals allowed?
Yeah. I was thinking given up. Jesus. Yeah, goals allowed a game. So expect the over to hit again. Second game, Wild Panthers, 5:30 tonight. I like this at the Wild money line, which is set at plus 126. The Panthers have managed to win 3 of their first 5 games without players like Barkov and Kachuk. Definitely showing their ability to win these close matchups. But honestly, and I think a lot of people would agree, statistically speaking, they've been outplayed in 4 of their last 5 games, only having a 47.37% expected goal share and a -1 goal differential. They may be winning these, quote, coin flip games, but I think their money line odds, which were, I think, minus 145 when I checked, very questionable, especially against the Wild, who are currently the 5th best expected goal share team in the league. With Gustafsson performing well in net, I think this is a solid place to back the Wild at plus 126. A couple other games going on tonight around that same time. Lightnings take on the Devils at 5:45. I like the Devils money line at minus 154 odds. Stars Sabres 6 p.m. I like the over, which was set at 5.5 at minus 140 odds. Rangers Canadians 6:15. Rangers spread minus 1.5 at plus 112 odds. Looked very, very caught my eye. Looked very juicy in the lineup. Leafs Blue Jackets 6:30. Here I was a little bit of a toss up because I liked 2 of them. I had the over. I was looking at the over 6.5 at minus 115 odds, but I also liked the Leafs spread at minus 1.5, which was even plus 100 odds. Second game I kind of wanted to talk about a little more was the Red Wings Islanders at 6:45 tonight. Again, I was looking at the over 6.5 spread or total. I'm sorry, at plus 106 odds. The Red Wings are going to New York to visit the Islanders, and kind of what has been an evenly matched series. Both teams splitting their last 10 meetings. Last season, Detroit won 4-3 in OT in Long Island, and the over hit in all 3 games, averaging 8 combined goals. This season, both these teams have hit the over in 3 of their 5 games. Detroit coming off a 5-2 win over Nashville and a 5-2 loss to the Rangers, and the Islanders winning 4-3 in a shootout against Montreal and averaging 4 goals for and against at home. Personally, I just think the odds on the over looked like the best bet here. This one might come out as a little bit out of left field, especially with my other odds. But I took, for the Jets Blues game tonight at 7 p.m., I took a Niederreiter anytime goal scorer at plus 300 odds. He may only have 1 goal this season, but he's definitely been putting work on that ice. He's always known for his gritty play, excelling at creating shots and scoring chances, especially alongside Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton. You know, their line ranks 4th in expected goals. You know, he leads the Jets in several offensive metrics, you know, expected goals, high danger attempts. And even with them facing the strong defense from the Blues, I still think he challenges Binnington in the net. You know, plus 300, I think that's a solid pick for an anytime goal scorer. And I think he's ready for it. He needs this, you know. Next game, Canucks Blackhawks 7:15. Honestly, I like the Blackhawks spread at plus 1.5 at minus 170 odds. The Avalanche against the Kraken 7:30 over 6.5 minus 105 odds. You know, the Avs and the Kraken, they face off for the first time of 3 meetings this year. Both are on win streaks. Avs winning 2 straight and the Kraken 3. You know, Seattle has kind of been beating tougher opponents lately, but I think how volatile Colorado plays, you know, the highest goals against average at 4.17 and top 10 goals per game at 3.5 kind of have me leaning towards a high scoring game. You know, both teams have a lot of potential with their strong offenses. So I think, and I kind of expect a lot of goals and taking the over in this matchup. Bruins Predators 7:45 over 5.5 at minus 140. Hurricanes Oilers 8 p.m. Canes money line at plus 120. You know, the Oilers are 2-4 after losing to the Stars, and the Canes have a similar style and a way to play as the Stars. You know, they have 3 productive forward lines, a strong forecheck, letting up less than 3 goals per game. You know, special teams, they lead the league in penalty killing, which could be very crucial in neutralizing this Oilers power play. You know, the Oilers continue to struggle offensively, only scoring 2 goals or less in 4 games this season. And I think it's just getting worse with their poor goaltending, you know, averaging 4 goals against per game. You know, given how well the Canes are playing lately, I think there's good value on them as the road underdogs. Yeah, Canes money line plus 120. A couple other games tonight and then one tomorrow. We've got 8:15 p.m. Senators and the Utah Hockey Club take on each other. Over 6.5 at minus 110 odds. Looks pretty good to me. Penguins Flames 8:30. I liked the Penguins money line at minus 105, to be honest. Sharks Ducks 9:15 over 5.5 at minus 132 odds. And the last game of the night is the Kings taking on the Golden Knights at 10 p.m. Honestly, I think Vegas takes it. Money line minus 137. And then the one and only game tomorrow is Flyers Capitals, 6:30 p.m. Honestly, I like the Flyers money line in that one, and it was set, I believe, at plus 122. Raven, anything you have to say on any of those?
No, I'm decent on hockey today.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, then let's move over into college football, I guess. You know, like always, we've got Conference USA playing tonight with Sam Houston State taking on FIU, 6:30 p.m. I took Sam Houston State spread at minus 5.5 at minus 114 odds. You know, the Bearcats are adjusting well to FBS play, you know, winning 8 of their last 11 games against FBS teams. And they're on the verge of bowl eligibility, which is crazy to think about. You know, high scoring offense and solid defense. They've covered 8 of their last 10 games. You know, QB1 Watson, questionable with an injury. But, you know, his backup Bauer capable rusher, and they already have a strong ground game as it is. You know, they average 219 rushing yards per game. Whereas on the other hand, Florida International really struggles against the run, you know, allowing 203 yards per game, 19 rushing touchdowns. Their offense looking pretty weak with, injuries to their top two QBs, leaving QB3 Carlson, who threw 2 picks last week. The Bearcats defense, very opportunistic, and with a FIU team who doesn't run well, it makes it hard for them to cover. Expect Sam Houston to control the game and win by a touchdown. Second game of the night, UTEP, Louisiana Tech, 7 p.m. I took the under, which was set at 50.5 points at -110 odds. Two struggling teams, UTEP with their first-year coach, Walden, is undergoing a lot of changes, and Louisiana Tech sounds like they might part ways with their head coach, Kumbi. UTEP's win last week was aided by FIU's 4 interceptions, leading inevitably to points against them, obviously. Whereas on the other hand, last week's Louisiana Tech game, 48-49 after going into overtime. Despite them having a top 20 defense in yards per play, both offenses are pretty weak. That's why I kind of think 51 points seems a little high in my opinion. Moving over to Wednesday's games, Liberty takes on Kennesaw State, 6 p.m. tomorrow night. And I was kind of looking at both these, either Liberty covering its spread at -24.5 or the over at 45.5, both set at -110 odds. They might be undefeated, but they've been really struggling to dominate these weaker teams, like New Mexico State and FIU, leading to a smaller than I would have expected line against Kennesaw State, the lowest power rated team in the nation. Liberty was favored by similar margins against other weak teams, -23.5 versus UTEP and -22.5 versus New Mexico State. But they didn't win. They haven't won a game by more than 18 points this season. While the line feels like it should be bigger, I don't think there's a bet here, which kind of makes me lean more towards the over 45.5 at -110 odds. And then the last college football game I want to talk about before Thursday is, Middle Tennessee State taking on Jacksonville State. 6:30 tonight. I'm taking the over, which is set at 63.5 at -115 odds. Jacksonville State averages 7.6 yards per play in conference, and I think they're going to move the ball well, especially being led by quarterback Tyler Huff. Middle Tennessee State's stats are a little skewed because of a tough non-conference schedule, but allowing 6.9 yards per play against FBS teams and struggling with sacks and rushing can't be a good combination ever. So I kind of expect Jacksonville State to score in the 40s, with Middle Tennessee putting up some points as well. Any college football?
You know me about college football.
Fair enough. Well, without further ado, let's move into the opening night of the regular season of the NBA. First game tonight, the Knicks in Boston facing the Celtics. The Knicks were really first of all, Boston, I took the Boston spread at -5.5 at -110 odds. The Knicks were active in the offseason, landing Bridges and Cat. Definitely helped address their needs for versatile defenders and another way they added rebounding and shooting. They kind of want to ruin Boston's ring night because they won last year, so they get their rings tonight. They lost 4 out of 5 to Boston last season, but they won 1 in Boston. The Celtics favored again to win it all. Retained a lot of their core, with the exception of Porzingis being out. They went 10-2 without him in the playoffs. Jason Tatum is looking to prove himself after missing out on the Finals MVP. And Brown, is using his Olympic team snub as motivation to come back stronger. Both look great in the preseason. The Knicks were 4-0, the Celtics were 4-1. But I think I'm going to back Boston to cover, given their 37-4 home record and plus 11 points per game in wins over the Knicks last season. Second game of the night and last, Timberwolves in LA taking on the Lakers, 9 p.m. I like the Timberwolves money line, which was set at minus 104. They intrigued me, especially after last season's playoff breakthrough and the addition of Julius Randle in that trade for Karl Anthony Towns. He is a versatile offensive player. I think they're going to have a little bit of a hard time integrating him quickly into that lineup. The Lakers still with LeBron James and AD seem interesting, but they're pretty average. First year head coach JJ Redick brought some flair, but there's a lot of skepticism around their chances, and that didn't really go away with the addition of Bronny James. LA is favored by -1. I think they have advantages over a healthy Lakers squad, and expect a big game from Anthony Edwards in the opener. Moving on to Wednesday's games. First one I want to talk about is Pacers-Pistons, 6 p.m. I have Pacers covering their spread of -5 at -110 odds. They got to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and a lot of people have been overlooking that, I think. Tyrese Halliburton's the league's top point guard. Gives them plenty to be excited about, despite these kind of low expectations. They start the season against Detroit. They beat and covered in all 4 games last year. So it's looking like a pretty good opening night for them. Detroit replaced their head coach, kind of showing that they know they need to improve, even with their own expectations being low. Cunningham, solid, but he might have already hit his ceiling. Jaden Ivey might be offering more potential. Yeah, expect another easy Pacers win. Offense usually dominates early in the season. Yeah, second game I want to talk about, Bucks 76ers, 6:30 Wednesday. The Bucks money line looked pretty interesting to me at plus 124. It's in Philadelphia. Both teams aim to kind of prove their championship credentials in this season opener. For the Bucks, this season's pretty crucial, especially after how disappointing last year's was, with Giannis possibly asking for a trade if they don't match their expectations this year. Injuries to other key players, like Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis, Brook Lopez, and Damian Lillard, they are concerns, but I think they play tonight. 76ers have their own injury concerns over Joel Embiid and Paul George, but I think at the end of the day, health kind of determines the success of this game. Philly may be favored, but the Bucks won all 3 meetings last year and could very easily pull off an upset. So that's why I'm rocking with the Bucks money line. A couple other games going on. 3 games at 6:30. We've got the Cavs, Raptors. Look to take Cavs spread -5.5 at -110 odds. Nets, Hawks, again at 6:30. I was pretty intrigued by the Nets +7.5 spread at -106 odds. Magic, Heat, last game at 6:30. I was pretty interested in the over, which was set at 208.5 at -110 odds. 7 p.m. games, 2 of them. Hornets, Rockets. Consider taking Hornets covering their spread at +7 at -110 odds. And the 7 p.m. game I'm going to talk about, Bulls take on the Pelicans down in New Orleans. I think the Bulls cover their spread of +7.5 at -112 odds. They head down to New Orleans to face the Pelicans, obviously, and both are kind of looking to improve after last season's play-in tournament. The Bulls lost to the Heat, and the Pelicans got in, but then got swept by the Thunder. The Pelicans added Murray as their new starting point guard, who averaged 22.5 points last game, but kind of struggled to fit with Trae Young. He joins a pretty strong starting 5, including Williamson, McCollum, and Brandon Ingram. The Bulls, on the other hand, lost DeMar DeRozan, but added Josh Giddey and welcome back Zach LaVine and Lonzo Ball, who missed all of last season due to injury. For the season opener, I'm leaning towards the Bulls to cover the spread. The Pelicans are kind of known for starting slow, and even with their starting 5 looking good on paper, the Bulls have depth with Dosunmu and Ball coming off the bench, So I think this game should be close, and I kind of expect the Bulls to cover. 3 final games, Wednesday night, Grizzlies, Jazz at 8 p.m. The bet that kind of intrigued me the most about that one was the Memphis money line at -154. 2 9 p.m. games, Warriors, Trailblazers, Suns, Clippers. First one, I have Golden State covering their spread of -6 at -110 odds. And last game of the night, Suns, Clippers, 9 p.m. I just thought I'd keep it easy. Phoenix money line -194. Raven, you got anything you want to talk about in the NBA world now that the season starts tonight?
Basketball is a hard one just because, preseason was very strange and didn't really give a lot of insight into the betting world. Kind of what Lee from Chicago Hockey Radio, one of our other shows on the network, says about first few games of the season don't seem to matter as much for the teams, but they're still important for the bettors. But I do think there's going to be some, I don't want to say rust on some of the players that is going to need to be worn off before bets start really making sense. But I think it's more so these games are going to be really unpredictable because some of these guys haven't been playing all of these minutes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all these are all, they're based on last season plus preseason as opposed to previously this season, So I definitely agree. I think this is probably one of the hardest times to make bets like that for the NBA. And I think it'll definitely click and become a little easier and make more sense going forward. Anything else? I didn't just cut you off, did I? All right. Well,
no, I'm sorry. I'm trying to talk to Reed at the same time.
Gotcha.
Make it go on air. But yeah, no, I mean, Milwaukee's money line being a positive bet is a little interesting just because they are, they have Dame and Giannis, but Chicago +7.5. I think that's a really good bet right away just because of this team has a new personality.
Yeah.
Quote unquote
and
new.
Zach LaVine, Lonzo Ball are back.
Yeah.
Energy's high, morale's high. Yeah.
That's about it for me, though.
Yeah, no, that's about it for me. That's all I've got for you guys today. Don't forget to tune in this upcoming Thursday at 11 a.m. on the Alithio Network YouTube page. Don't forget to check out their other shows like Chicago Hockey Radio, Good Morning Hockey, Let's Cool One. Available everywhere. Audio will also be available shortly after this live ends here. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube or smash the 5-star ratings and follow on Spotify or Apple Pods. Peace. Have a good Tuesday and Wednesday, you guys. See you guys Thursday.